Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. We will give folks a few minutes to continue to join us here before we get started. But thank you for joining us. Welcome, everyone, again. If you're just joining us, we're just waiting a couple of more minutes before we get started to give people a chance to settle in before we get started with this program. If you please make sure that you mute yourself, I would appreciate it. Thank you so much. So if you're just joining us, please feel free to introduce yourself and let us know where you are zooming in from in the chat. You can also go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A section. And we'll get started in about a minute or so. Great. I see some people already filling in the chat with where they're coming from and who they are. We appreciate it. If you haven't had a chance to introduce yourself, feel free to do so. We'll get started in just a minute. All right. Well, I think we can go ahead and get started. And so I want to say hello to everyone. Hola a todos. Welcome to SHPE's first Familia Meeting with our new CEO, Suzanna Valdez Wolfe. And we are thrilled to introduce you to Suzanna, who brings a wealth of experience and a fresh perspective to our organization. My name is Anna Patrick. I am SHPE's manager for member and chapter relations. I have the distinct pleasure of assisting our members, including our students, which make up the majority of our incredible SHPE Familia with individual member needs at the chapter level. It's an honor to be gathered with so many of our student members here tonight. We truly appreciate your participation and support. Estamos muy agradecidos por su participación y apoyo. Now, just a couple of housekeeping notes. Throughout today's session, we encourage you to engage with us by putting your questions in the chat. While we won't be able to address every question during the webinar, a select few will be answered during the Q&A session at the end. So please don't hesitate to share your thoughts and inquiries. Additionally, please be aware that this session is being recorded. The recording will be made available in our upcoming newsletter, SHPE Nation, so you'll have the opportunity to revisit the discussion and share with colleagues who couldn't attend. Now, let's get this show on the road, shall we? It is my pleasure to introduce you to our distinguished guest today. And while his reputation certainly precedes him, it's still worth touching on some of his incredible accomplishments. Jay Flores is a global STEM ambassador and the founder of Invent the Change. You might recognize him from NBC's American Ninja Warrior, where he is a semi-finalist on this current season. Way to go, Jay. Jay is also the host of PBS's innovation show, Make 48, and has starred on shows for Telemundo and ESPN. As one of the most influential voices in K-12 STEM education, Jay reaches millions of students every month. He is a mystery guide on Discovery Education's Mystery Science, the most widely used K-5 science resource in the United States. Additionally, Jay is the creator and host of It's Not Magic, It's Science, a groundbreaking brand dedicated to providing entertaining and equitable STEM experiences. We are truly proud to call Jay both a friend and a member of the SHPE Familia. Welcome, Jay. Bienvenido. Thank you so much for being here.
Gracias, Ana. I'm very excited to be here with our familia and with Suzanna. I can't wait to get to some of your questions as well as the questions that were submitted prior to the event. So thank you for having me. All right, so thank you very much, everyone, for joining in. I appreciate all of you taking some time out of your evening to meet Suzanna, to connect with us, to ask questions that both answer some of your curiosities, but then also challenge the organization to continue to grow, to continue to serve, especially this particular group, the heart of SHPE, the student membership, not only because you make a majority of the membership, but also because a lot of the impact that the organization is able to make comes via all of the outreach and programming that you all do at the local level. So without your support, we wouldn't be able to fulfill our mission. But I am very excited to be able to have this conversation with Suzanna, who will be helping steer us towards that mission and vision and allow us to continue to grow and expand so that more students can have opportunities like the ones that you are benefiting from. So thank you, Suzanna, for joining us. I've had the pleasure of meeting you a few times now, and I'm really excited to be able to share some of your story with the team. But I want to start off right away with why SHPE? Give us a little introduction and background of yourself, but of all the cool opportunities that you could have got after and all the cool things you've already done, how does SHPE fit into your personal mission as well?
Thank you, Jay. And thank you. As everyone can appreciate how busy Jay is, I mean, he's a STEM ambassador, he's a ninja, he's a SHPE Familia member. Like there's husband, dad, like there's a lot going on in Jay's life. And so Jay, thank you for joining us and thank you for being who you are, inspiring our students with your programs and how engaged you are in community, because that really speaks to SHPE and the community that we've built and that we're continuing to build. So thank you for that. I also want to thank our SHPE Familia that brought us to this evening, Jen Link, who is our head of marketing, Ashley, who you all know, Anna, who works with you all day in and day out. And I want to thank them for bringing this idea forward, for having this conversation and bringing this all to fruition. I always say teamwork makes the dream work, and this is an incredible, incredible team, and I'm grateful for them and I'm thankful for them. So, why SHPE, Jay? So, if you think about what Rod Garcia and the founders built 50 years ago, and to think about what SHPE is today, it's absolutely extraordinary and astounding that the organization is celebrating its 50 years, promoting and advocating and supporting Latinos in STEM, right? And if we think about what the dreams and the aspirations are of every member on this call and of our 18,000 members, there's no greater honor or purpose or mission that I would want to be aligned with, right? I feel like it's a privilege to be here. And to think about the next 50 years is overwhelming. It's intimidating, but I also think that with our members, with our staff, with our board, have incredible board volunteer members, a lot of legacy lifetime members, that everyone is committed to the mission. And to think about what SHPE does every day for our undergrads, for our professionals, for students, that if I can do a tiny part to make a contribution to that, that's an incredible way to live my life, to wake up every day, committed to and passionate around mission. And I've always said to everyone that I've worked with or worked for, if I can't have passion for mission, then I can't come to work every day. So this is not work, this is a joy. And I'm just a beneficiary of what has been built for the last 50 years. And so I'm excited. There's a lot of responsibility with that. Inspired by that. I'm inspired by you, Jay, and other members that I've met and have heard the personal stories and the journeys of how you all came to SHPE and how you are trying to pay it forward and are paying it forward every day with others. If I have to really point to one thing, that there's a couple of things, but one thing that is striking to me is that every member that I speak with, and the common denominator of all of our conversations is, if I had known about SHPE at this point, if I had known about SHPE when I was starting college, if I had known. And so our job, our mission is to make sure that we bring others in, right? That this is a movement about how we can make SHPE available and accessible to all those that are dreaming and pursuing STEM careers.
That's incredible. No, absolutely. And I love that you have, in just your first 100 days, felt that multiple times. And I'm sure you'll continue to hear more and more wonderful stories of members who, you know, have had literally their lives changed by SHPE, and that continue to expand upon that passion and try to keep that going. So if you're already feeling that, you're already noticing that from your first, I'm assuming your first interview process and your first 100 days, getting out to some of the regional conferences, that is great. You know, it shows that we're continuing to share those stories and having that impact. And I can't wait for you to see even more of that. National Convention, NELA, all the incredible events that are coming up, as well as all the virtual things and local chapter things that SHPE does. So yes, thank you. And you're gonna love it forever, hopefully, like many of the people on the call. So what are some of those leadership lessons that you may have taken from the past that you've learned throughout your career that you think some of our chapter leaders might be able to benefit from? So we have people, you know, taking off part of their busy schedules as well. You know, we've got students that might have internships right now, or might be taking summer classes, might be getting ready for the semester and leading their chapters. So I love to see that dedication on the call. So what are some of those leadership nuggets that you can share with them from your previous experience and now what you've experienced with SHPE in the first few days?
Thank you. So I have, again, been the beneficiary of many mentors and people that have offered themselves to be a mentor to me, but also supportive throughout my career. And there's kind of distinct messages and nuggets that I've had, let's just say like within the like 5 or 10 years, the decades of my career. One of them is always be a good listener. And so when you lead and when you're in a leadership role, it's really about starting from a place of empathy. And the term I use is walk in somebody else's shoes, right? So not a new quote, not a new statement, not a new approach, but try to start from a place from empathy of where this person's coming from. The other one that I shared with during the CCLP is I had the honor of working for the first African-American female Secretary of Labor, Alexis Herman. And she was she actually discovered me. I'll go into that story later, but we struck up a conversation. And one of the things that I learned from her is the statement and the approach of bloom where you're planted. And that is, as you're going through your leadership journey, and yes, we're always looking about how we can grow and expand and advance, but think about doing a great job where you are, excelling where you are, shining from where you are, because when you shine in the moment and you shine in your internship, you shine in your entry, you just started your career, people notice that. And Jay, I look to you. I mean, you shine, you shined at every moment. And it's about understanding that this is part of your journey, embracing whatever the challenges are, and embracing the opportunities. But just, don't always be looking about what's next, but where am I? Am I being present? I have been inspired in the last 10 years by several leadership gurus like Brene Brown, Jay Shetty, Simon Sinek. If I pronounced his name right, please correct me.
Yeah, I love Simon Sinek.
Yes. And so what I love about that is, Brene Brown's is like, be vulnerable. It's so hard to be vulnerable when you're trying to prove yourself, right? Because I was asked, I think in the CCLP conversation about imposter syndrome. And it's like the answer lies within you, and the level of tension is also set by you when you enter a conversation, when you enter a room. Like, so if it's not there, no one's going to pick up on it. No one's going to perceive it. So just own it as much as you can. Surround yourself with people that support you, are encouraging of you, that want to see you succeed, that can always remind you of what your superpowers are, what your secret sauce is, because you can lose that. You can sit there and say, oh my gosh, so I'm competing in this field. And sometimes you may focus on, this is what I don't have. So surround yourself with people who remind you and know and can remind you of what you do have and what those gifts and assets are that you contribute to the world. So always through your leadership journey, find the mentors and seek mentors. People are always flattered to hear from anyone to say, wow, can I call on you? Can we spend 15 minutes? This is what I'm doing. Can you help support my journey? I would say 9 times out of 10, you're going to get a yes, and you're going to get support. So create your supportive community, shine where you are, and let the rest take its path. And trust that there is a NFL coach. I'm a big football fan. I can't remember who it is because I guess I'm nervous. Is that trust the preparation? And so you always have to trust your preparation. This is what got you here. And your skill set plus your investment in being prepared will always take you to the next step.
Thank you so much for those words. And I particularly love the shine where you are, because every member can do something individually to contribute to the greater mission. And oftentimes we don't view our individual contributions as significant, but they really are. They're significant for that person that you're interacting with. And so I'm just looking at the chat. Caleb from the University of Cincinnati, you're making a difference there. Michelle in Detroit, you can be making a difference there. Johnny in Boston, each one of you being able to serve the mission and vision of SHPE are making an impact that collectively changes communities and the country and the world, right? Depending on what the students do. And, in my intro, they mentioned I reached millions, but it didn't start with millions. I remember some of my first presentations as a SHPE member were to a couple of kids. right? And I tried to shine as best as I could in the audiences that I had, and that eventually led to more audiences, which eventually led to larger audiences, and I got more and more passionate about it. I grew, I got, new skill sets and learned from mistakes and tried different things, and now today I'm able to reach many, many more than I was back then. But the coolest thing is that I focus on K to 12. So that we'll call it return on investment. I don't like to use that phrase, but the impact that I'm having is further down the road. But just recently, I got a message from a student that they were starting computer science. And I had spoken to them, I think like 7, 8 years ago, maybe. And to see that something, that I did and kind of not necessarily forgot about, but don't think about that student every single day had an impact. So each one of you is going to be able to do that. And if we're all able to have that collective impact, the organization will continue to thrive and our mission and vision will continue to move forward. So wherever you're at, shine where you're,
yes. If I could build on that to all our members, is that you're planting seeds and you never know which seed is going to take off. But, someone planted a seed with you. And so you are where you are now. And think of the pride and the fulfillment that that person has because you are where you are, that you're taking a leadership role with SHIP, that you're pursuing your dream of a STEM studies, right? STEM career. It's just like somebody out there is smiling and feeling very rewarded and fulfilled that they played a role in planting that seed with you. So it's an incredible feeling.
Absolutely. And just even if you're not getting those messages, just know that it's happening, right?
Exactly.
Know that those seeds are growing somewhere, and one day it's going to just catch you off guard and you're going to be like, wow, I was the kid that went to that SHIP event that you led and you inspired me, and now I'm doing X, Y, or Z. One day it will come. I promise you that. Yes. If it hasn't already.
Absolutely.
Thank you again for sharing that. And I see this person in the chat, and I also see that they submitted a question earlier. So I want to reward Andrea Godoy from the University of Miami for joining us today, also submitting questions in advance. And thank you, Andrea, for your leadership within the organization in the region. But she's interested in any new partnerships or collaborations that SHIP is exploring to provide additional opportunities to its members as we continue to grow, as we try to get closer to our mission and vision. And there's also a strategic plan coming out. What are some of those exciting new things that you're working on, or that the staff is working on with you?
Yes, so all the credit goes to the staff and the work that's has been done in the last couple of years. So we're, continuing to build our scholarship program. And so, the one-day vision I have is that anyone seeking a scholarship to pursue STEM studies can come to SHIP and get some kind of stipend, get some kind of scholarship to help them and support their families so that they can go in STEM studies. So expanding our scholarship program is beginning to happen. We are working with organizations, thanks to Ashley and Kimberly and Anna and the RNI team, that are helping us ensure that if a student, this goes to scholarship, but this also goes to something else. If a student is going and pursuing their academic studies and their STEM studies, and they need assistance from us on tuition or other life support that we can provide at home or outside the home, we want to be able to do that too. So we have a relief fund that's run by Susan, and some of you have reached out to us about accessing the relief fund. We want to grow that. We want to ensure that, wherever you are in need, we want to be there to support you. And that's one of the reasons why SHIP was built by Rod and the founders. And so those partnerships, our external relations team continues to build incredible relationships with our corporate sponsors and our corporate partners. And so we believe that we're going to have 81 IPC members at convention this year. So that's all credit to the team, to the SHPE team, and led by our external relations team. One of the areas of growth that I would like to explore, and Jay, I actually credit you from our lunch conversation and when I talked with you, is exactly that K through 12 space. And that is, I would like to know from every member that if you had known about SHPE at what point in your education, is it middle school, is it high school, is it as an undergrad, like if you had known about SHPE at that point in your growth, advancement, education, where could SHPE have made a difference? And so I want to explore that. I think that what we currently do for undergraduates, our graduate students, and our professionals is something that we need to continue building on, but exploring where exactly in that K through 12 space can SHPE support and support, help, but also in be to incite, to inspire, thank you, not incite, inspire. Where can we provide that inspiration and support not only to students and families? And so I'd like to explore that as we move through the next year or two, and see what we can do there. But we are exploring partnerships every day, every month, every year. And I want to give a shout out to our, again, R&I team, Ashley, Susan, Robert, on the Latinas in Computer Science. Hopefully we'll have something great to announce to you all before the convention, or maybe at NELA. So this team and the staff is working hard every day to ensure that we fund the dream.
This is great. And this is what I love about Suzanna, guys, is that she is very thoughtful, not just in like what the overall vision is, but what it means to every person. And even just posing the question to you all, where would it have been most helpful? Most people don't think about that. They think about what they think is right for the organization and they start walking that way. Suzanna is very thoughtful, reflective on the needs, wants, and desires of our members. Like she mentioned earlier, the listening, I do feel that from her as well as all the interactions I've had around listening to the members, understanding where we can truly provide the most value, not just what looks best on paper or in an end of year report, but what truly moves the needle. So I'd love to see in the chat if any of you have any thoughts around that, around what age group or what time would have been very impactful for you. Please put that in the chat. I'm sure we'll have other ways of gathering more specific feedback, but I'm just curious for the rest of this conversation where that might be for some of you. But then also it reminds me of, I think, one of the most important things I've learned as a leader is you don't have to be everything for everyone. I think the best thing you can do, especially if you're, busy and studying and you've got all these challenges that you're facing yourself, the best thing you can do is think about what you needed, being the person that you needed 5 or 10 years ago. So as you reflect on this question for Suzanna, that can also help shape your impact locally, right? Maybe for you, it's you didn't see fun live demos of science, right? So you can go back into your community and you can do some hands-on stuff. For others, it may have been imposter syndrome, like you mentioned, Suzanna, earlier, and you can talk to other students about how you've dealt with that or handled it. And the more you can reflect on what you needed and then put yourself in the shoes of other students that might have similar needs or slightly different, that you can impact yourself with your time within the organization. You can have a big impact without having to do anything too crazy or time consuming for you.
So Jake, can I ask you a little bit about your SHPE journey?
Of course.
you don't mind? So incredible that, if I understand correctly, you are the youngest member to ever serve on the national board. So
Sure.
what inspired you? What launched that idea? What came from you to say, I'm going to do that,
Mhm.
right? I want to serve on the national board.
Yeah, so I was probably the least qualified on paper in the entire
I doubt
organization
that.
to take on that role. At least if you were to look at resume, right? I had only held one leadership position. It was a local chair position. And then I went off to study abroad at the University of Puerto Rico in Maya West. So I really only had like one semester of leadership within the organization. I was a sophomore. I actually ran away from SHPE my freshman year because I thought, I was like, oh, I need to be like focused on my grades and my class and everything. And I didn't know what I didn't know. I'm the first engineer in my family. There's a lot of things I wish I would have done my freshman year, or to your question from earlier, younger, high school, middle school, etc. Even elementary, there's probably a lot of impact that could have taken me even further. But long story short, I finally gave in, and I said, yes, let me do this. I want to impact other people. I also have questions and I need some growth myself. And I threw myself all in, and I started raising my hand and saying, yes to opportunities. There's so much value that this organization provides that sometimes we might not realize. And I started going to regional conferences. There was one in the time in Puerto Rico that I went to, and then I also flew back to my hometown region, Region 6, and went to a regional conference there. And I was just very passionate about the case study competitions that they had at the time at regional conferences. And just was awesome to be around such passionate people, especially coming from the University of Wisconsin, where our chapter was very small, to see that, hey, there's other people out there like me that have similar challenges, that have similar visions and goals to impact our community. Surround myself with that. Ended up doing very well in both of those case study competitions, and that's where I got noticed by a couple people, some people that ended up being very important mentors in my life, still to this day, as well as some people that opened doors for me that I didn't even know existed, which led to being nominated to the national board. So, but one of the most important things, and I'm not 100% sure where this comes from, I think it might be because when my parents told me I could be whatever I wanted, I really believed it. I felt it from them. So that's something that was helpful. But these weren't my parents telling me to do these things. So what I did was I listened to people when they believed in me, even if I didn't believe in it myself, even if I couldn't see the vision, or if I couldn't see how valuable this event was going to be. I knew that the organization had my best interest in mind, that it had a wonderful mission and vision, and that I should take on these opportunities. I should try to believe in myself as well, at the same level these people are believing in me. And then it became I need to continue to grow so that I can support others, right? Because now I'm in this position that's impacting students all over the country. And so the more and more I can grow individually, the more I can give to others. And so that just set me off on a fun and wonderful journey with SHPE that is now over 15 years old, a happy lifetime member. I met my wife through the organization. I've met lifelong mentors, friends, acquaintances, all kinds of wonderful things have come to me. And it all started with just signing up to volunteer.
That's incredible. And I feel like part of that goes back to trust, right? So you were trusting the feedback that people were giving you, the input that they were giving you. One of the things I always say is that feedback is a gift, right? Some people avoid feedback because they're afraid of what they're going to hear, but feedback is always a gift, and it's about growing and getting information so that you can continue to be the best person that you are. So I'm really glad that you joined the board, because when you were at the board, I think you drafted the mission and vision, right? For the SHPE, the mission and vision we have now.
Yeah, not just me,
No, no.
but yes. So this was, I think, my second term as a board member. So after I was nominated, the next year I ran, and I ended up serving two more terms as a student on the board, and then two as a professional. And in that time period, we were looking at the mission and vision of the organization. We had a couple key leaders within the organization. I got to represent the students. We had other professionals that had a wide variety of either a board role or previous history with the organization, et cetera. And we sat down in a room for a couple days and really tried to dig deep into what SHPE is, what it meant to us, and where we want it to take our members for the next 50 years, 100 years, et cetera. And so the old mission statement, for those of you who might not be familiar, especially our students who have only been around for the current mission and vision, but the old mission statement said, SHPE is the source for quality Hispanic engineers and technical talent. SHPE is the source for quality Hispanic engineers and technical talent. It made us sound like a factory for brown engineers. And it basically was not member serving. It was serving people hiring Hispanic engineers, which is great. They are very important to our mission. Our Industrial Partnership Council does incredible things. And all of the sponsors that go to national convention, regional events, et cetera, are very important, but that's not the core of why SHPE exists.
Right.
And we, went through that process, and now the SHPE mission statement starts with SHPE changes lives, right? So by empowering the Hispanic community. So it's now focused much more on everyone on this call, right, as I'm starting to see in the chat now, people talking about their daughters, or also Andrea sharing what grade was very important for her. It serves that fourth and fifth grade version of you, Andrea. Efren, it serves both of your daughters. And not just those that are our members, but anyone that has interest in the STEM fields can benefit from it. And whether that fourth or fifth grader goes on to be a chemical engineer, or maybe a psychologist that is just more technically literate and can now impact their clients better. We are now serving a core of who we are, and it's much more needle moving than it is just serving something like a national convention or an event. It makes a big difference in our community, and I hope you all are feeling that.
Yes, and I think that in our chapters across the country, that I'm beginning to understand that there are nuances in the chapters, right? And what I love is the collaboration and the mentorship that happens within the chapters. And I would encourage anyone who's in this conversation that just reach out to me, reach out to board members, reach out to, I know there's a channel of communication that I have to be respectful for through our IR&I team, but if you're at a NELA conference or wherever, and you are having you see a board member, you see a staff person or whatever, and you have a question, just engage us, because that's what we're here for. And one of the things, Jay, I think that you and I and everyone as part of SHPE is servant leadership. I always say that I live in service to others, and when it comes to SHPE, it's like I wake up every day thinking, how can I be more in service to members? And in the other piece of that equation is, how do we engage those that can continue to fund the dream and the dreams that our members have? So those two are equally important, so that we can get not only, what our next 10 to 25 years looks like.
Absolutely. And so you guys see how Suzanna loves to listen, and that's why she even starts interviewing me during this process, right? She loves to hear from our members. If you don't believe it, you see it even in this, where she's supposed to be the star, but she truly is a servant. at heart, I think at your core. And that actually goes into, you kind of started to answer one of the questions that we have in the chat around your leadership style. Could you elaborate a little bit more on that, on the servant leadership aspect specifically? Because this is something that I think guided me through my journey as well, when I started to realize that it's about something bigger than your personal success. It's about, once you make it something bigger than that, you actually end up doing better, because as I mentioned earlier, you're trying to grow so you can serve others. So could you speak to any, kind of growth and benefits you've received by using that servant leadership style? And then how does that then flow into taking the strategic plan and this organization forward?
Great question. Thank you. So I would say that my servant leadership, what really excites me and has been a pattern throughout my career, is the people that I get to work with, right? Like the teams that I get to work with, and I think some of you have heard me say that I'm starting my 17th week next week, is I'm in a listen and learn, right, stage. And so one of the values that I have is curiosity. So to always be curious, to be curious about others, to be curious about other approaches, to be curious about what you can contribute, right? And so what is it that you can do to build, to expand, to improve, to better, but also to just have a conversation to build community. And so I think that for folks that follow the servant leadership model, it is about building that community of like-minded people, right? Like-minded peers, colleagues that want to make a difference, but understand that it's bigger than them. It's about the collective. And so, again, I'm thankful and grateful to work with staff, board members, right? That we are living each day thinking about how can we improve our service to members. And so I feel that your question, how I can tie that into the strategic plan. So we had a strategic plan from 2022 to 2025. So we are in the next 3 months embarking on a new strategic plan. And so, to kind of demystify strategic plans for people, I think that there's a lot of folks that want to place a lot of weight on strategic plans, and those are important because you need to know what it is that how you should be focused for the next 3 to 5 years. But I also think that strategic direction is also just as important as strategic plans, because sometimes you're not going to figure out the 3 to 5 years, but you need to figure out this year, right? And how this year contributes to the next 3 years and how this year contributes to the next 5 years. So if people can think about what it is that we need to do in this year so that we are contributing to the next 50 years of SHPE, is the best guide and the best compass to utilize as leaders. So embarking on a new strategic plan in the next 3 months. I should also say part of the strategic direction is one of my aha moments as I've listened and learned in the last 16 or 17 weeks is, as some of you know, we're putting a pause on RLDCs. And the reason we're putting the pause on RLDCs because we're asking the question of, is RLDC meeting your needs as members? Right? It's a leadership development initiative. It's very important. The leadership development that we invest in you and in members needs to have impact, should have impact, because you have a staff that's working very hard to make sure that they provide a leadership development experience that's going to be impactful to you. So I just want to take a pause, ask the questions, reimagine what RLDCs, do they stay the same? Do they look different? And again, the goal is to ensure that they're having impact in your leadership development as members.
I love hearing that from you, because sometimes we get into the, oh, RLDCs have always been part of SHPE since whatever day, and we forget that at one point they weren't, or they were different, and they change. And as the organization continues to grow, we need to make sure that we can adapt to the needs of our members and make sure we're truly meeting them. So I appreciate you and the leadership team and the staff for taking that at heart at all times. The other thing I really want to reemphasize for the students on this call is what you talked about, with surrounding yourself with those people. And I love looking back at some of my photos of myself as a student, and who was in those photos and where they are now, and being able to travel to almost any major city and think of at least one or two SHPE members that I've connected with in the past and can reconnect with, and all the incredible things that they're doing and they're up to. And I think the key with that is just really surrounding yourself with excellence, surrounding yourself with people that are driven, that are there to support you and that you can support, right? Having kind of a well-rounded group of people that are both helping you and that you are helping. So SHPE is the perfect place for that. And in the strategic plan, as you continue to move forward, I'm sure there will be lots of things that continue to provide opportunities for members to grow and connect with other great leaders. So that, and one other thing I really want to share there is that question was from our current regional vice president for Region 3. When I first met Ramon Martinez, he was Region 3 regional student representative.
Wow.
Which is cool to see that now he is still engaged with the organization and taking on a different leadership role after doing many other wonderful things. So,
well, I've had the pleasure of talking with Ramon, and I'm grateful for his guidance and all of the wealth of knowledge that he shared with me and his perspectives. And I tell you, it's very inspiring to have those conversations and to hear the passion, not just the personal passion about why they're at SHPE, but what they want to do to make sure that SHPE is here for everyone that follows, right? And so, it's the mindset of bring as many people in, right? It's like bring as many people as you can, because if we hear, and if there's a common denominator, like if I had only known about SHPE, like this is a movement. You've created a movement. We've got to build the movement. And so let SHPE be that movement that touches every student that wants and is pursuing STEM, and has a community, most importantly, that's there to see them succeed. Right? Because that's the hardest thing. It's like when you look down the road, you're an entering freshman and you're a and it's like, whoa, I have another 2 to 3, and I have to do what? Like I'm not a STEM, I didn't study STEM in college, but I do have an appreciation and respect for everything you have to do in order to be successful in your studies. And so just to know that there's a community out there that's rooting for you and that has resources for you and wants to see you succeed is really helpful, I would imagine.
absolutely. And the more resources kids can access, and parents and teachers, and seeing SHPE as the place where they receive that, I think that's where we get our true lifetime members, right? The ones that
Exactly.
we can reach early. It became a natural part of their growth and development, and they've always seen it as a familia. That, the more we see that in SHPE Junior and the virtual STEM labs, etc., I think that's going to make this organization very strong for a very long time. So I want to go a little deeper into that, because I think one of the big spaces where that can grow is in K-12, and several of our questions, both in the chat, also submitted before and also and now, is what are our plans with K-12? We have several people that have mentioned they have sons and daughters that are interested, and they want to know a little bit more around what SHPE plans to do there, whether that's in the future strategic plan or maybe for those that don't know as much, what are some of the key current programs that SHIP is focused on and
Absolutely.
wants to continue to grow?
So there's, I love these programs, Equipando Padres, that was started to support the parents and families of first-time students that are pursuing STEM studies. And what I love about Equipando Padres is that it's parents mentoring other parents, right? It's families mentoring other families. Like, this may seem intimidating, or if this is what your daughter or son wants to pursue, this is the support that they're going to need. And we are here to support you. Like, you're not in this journey alone. We're here to support you. And there are other families in your community. And what I love is that engaging members in the chapters and in the regions to support these programs, because we've been beneficiaries of them, but we also understand the value proposition, right? That if your family gets the support and your parents understand how they can support you, then how much further, and what that confidence and that support means to you while you're embarking on this journey. I actually had a chance to go through our virtual STEM labs, and I know that Jay, you were a pro during the pandemic to launch something really extraordinary and meaningful. But virtual STEM labs, the fact that you can reach our students at home with their parents and families, and that you can engage in an activity together with dedicated, committed staff and volunteers, right? That go into each breakout room, with 5th through 7th grade and 8th through 10th and whatever, and design a STEM experience for that student, right? For where they are in their development as a student and their passion. It's an incredible gift. And so I was so excited to participate in virtual. I have a 14-year-old, so I said, I'm not doing this, you're going to do this. And so he was very taken. He didn't wear goggles and was very unsafe, but that's besides the point. So that is incredible. Noche de Ciencias, where we introduce the sciences, and we introduce STEM to the community and to families. There's a lot of programming that happens locally, and I just want to make sure that we continue to get the word and ensure that our members feel that they have an opportunity to support these programs locally. So hopefully more to come. We'll figure out if this is a space that we need to be in. I think we can be. We need to ensure that we get the funding and the support, but the passion and commitment from the staff is there. And so that's what's so inspiring.
Yeah, thank you so much to all the staff that helps make those events possible, because it's hundreds of students at a time, and it's happening every month, and we're reaching tons and tons of kids. So the chapters challenge you to get the word out to even more students, especially those whose parents might not be signing them up already, or might not be aware of it, might not know the value. Make sure that you are helping communicate that locally so that we can have the biggest impact. We've got a few minutes left, so if you have any dying questions that you really want to ask, throw it into the chat, and I'll maybe get one more from there. But
so Jay, can I ask you one other question, a burning question I have?
Of course.
You are our superstar, you're our Marvel ship guy. So I watched you on the American Ninja Warrior program, right? And so I am so curious as to what mindset you adopt as you prepare for it. And then when you're there in the moment, I mean, I understand, I'm guessing some of it is physics, right? But it's science, not magic, right? So I would love to just kind of, if you could share with us, because it's such an incredible accomplishment. It's like superhuman. And so, if you could share with us kind of that insight of how you prepare, and then how you get through the competition.
Yeah, so to give a little background on how the show itself works, you don't get to try anything until that day when it's your turn,
Wow.
right? You get one shot at the course. I personally had been trying to get on the show. I've been rejected 9 times. The 10th time is when I finally got the call. That was my first season 2 years ago. And then this was my second season, just aired last Monday. There's an incredible amount of pressure, anxiety potentially, right? But then also, not only do I only get one chance, since it's an application show, it might be my only chance ever. So the stakes are really high, but I think it goes back to what you shared earlier today around trusting your preparation. And so I remember the first time as I'm doing the course walkthrough. So we get to see it and we see someone else do it once, but we don't get to touch anything. You don't get to see the distances or anything like that. So as I'm going through that, I'm like, okay, I haven't done this, but I've done this thing that's similar, or maybe I haven't, done it on this particular setting, but I have that skill, or I've trained something similar. And I think as you're going through your career and your growth and your leadership opportunities, taking that kind of mindset is really important. You may not have stepped into this specific challenge or solved this specific problem, but what have you done in the past that you can trust in to help you get through that next challenge? The other thing was just trusting the part of your brain that empowers you and not the one that tries to scare you, right? So as I'm at the start line, and this season in particular, I was the first athlete to compete. So there's another level of pressure. I didn't get to see anybody else go. I didn't get to get any feedback on what the challenges were. So you're starting at the finish, you're standing at the start line and you're like, please don't fall on the first obstacle. Please don't fall on the first obstacle. And all these things are going through your head, and you have to then just let that pass. It's going to happen. It's normal. You're going to have doubts. You're going to have fears. Just let them come into your mind for a second, but then push them out quickly and replace that with something that's going to empower you and help you take on the task ahead. And so that was big. The other thing is the pressure of the crowd, the lights,
Right.
everything is bigger. And so that was scary at first, but then I had to think, they're supporting me, right? They're here. They're not here to try to ruin things for me. These people showed up to help me, specifically my family and friends that traveled to be part of the live audience. And, that means something. And whether I complete everything or I fall, I know that they're going to be there to help me keep moving forward, whether that's in celebration, you hit a buzzer, or it's you fell on the first obstacle, but you got out there and you can keep going. So that, I think, has all helped me focus on what matters most, focusing on what you can control, and the next step ahead of you, one obstacle at a time versus the whole course. And as you're trying to graduate while also trying to change lives with a ship, and also balancing whatever personal passions and other things you have going on, there's going to be times where it feels very challenging and difficult and overwhelming. But just focusing on what you can control, what the next obstacle is that you can handle at this moment, and taking that journey and realizing that there are people around you that support you, is going to help you get way farther than you may have thought otherwise. And the last thing I'll share about it is I had a purpose greater than completing the course, right? I had the superpower that I want this to inspire, right? I had the experiments that I did before. I showcased robotics, and it's not magic, it's science. And I knew that my mission was greater than whether I completed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 obstacles and got the buzzer. And I just needed to focus on having fun and bringing the energy so that they would then highlight all of the science. And that helped a ton as well.
Yes. One of the things that you said, and I noticed in the chat, I think there was a question about how do you overcome challenges, when you're overwhelmed, Jay, when you say you tried 9 times and the 10th time, right, it worked. I think that is so key for everyone. It's like, I kind of heard this about 10 or 15 years ago that every setback is a setup for a comeback.
Mhm.
And please believe in that. Like, failure is not bad. Failure informs. It's a temporary setback. And whether some people don't want to call it failure, some people call it challenges, whatever it is, but there's a gift in there. You just have to find it and believe that that this is happening for a reason. And that, Jay, it's like, it's that 10th time,
Mhm.
it wasn't the 5th time, it was the 10th time. And so should be inspiration for every one of you that, are in school and you're working and you're going to school or whatever. It's just, it may be the 10th time but you have to get back up and you have to keep trying, right? The punches are going to come in life, but you got to just get back up. So thank you for sharing that with our audience, because challenges are definitely going to come, but it's that mindset of what you do to overcome those challenges.
Yeah, Ninja Warrior and obstacles have been the perfect lesson
Yes.
for me with that, because you don't go into one of those gyms or courses and get everything the first time. And I probably
Right.
fail, I don't know, 20 times more than I succeed every single day in the gym with
Yes.
that. So uh, leveraging that mindset with everything else you do, as long as you take the time to learn something from it, a failure is still a building block. So the way I try to envision it is like, you're building something with Lego, right? And you view your successes as a green Lego brick, and you view your failures as a red Lego brick. Most people put their red Lego bricks to the side. They try to forget about them. They're embarrassed by them, not realizing that it's still a Lego brick, that you can still build stuff with it if you take the lesson from it. So make sure that you are taking the highs and the lows as part of your overall journey, and not letting either of them impact you too much, but allowing them both to be something that you can continue to grow with.
Yes. Thank you, Jay.
All right. Well, I think we're out of time, unfortunately. I wish we could continue on. And there will be many opportunities throughout the year at other conventions for you to meet Suzanna. And as I mentioned, both on this call, but also in my previous interactions with you, thank you so much for what you are doing to lead this organization. The way that you're approaching it with your servant leadership style, I think, is going to truly be beneficial to all members, current and future. And to all those here and listening later on, understand that Suzanna really is listening, thinking, and then solving, right? She's working
Trying with a
to
team of incredible partners. Yes, absolutely. Thank you,
so
Jay.
yes, of course. Thank you for starting with that listening and really truly viewing the members as each individual member is extremely important, and to all the staff that are supporting that, the leadership teams, the board, the regional teams, etc. Thank you, everyone,
Yes. Thank
for
you.
that, and we look forward to continuing to work together for the next 50 and beyond. So thank you so much, Suzanne.
Yes. Thank you.